What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Why Jesus podcast, answering life's most important question. We are on episode 16. 16. Wow. I'm really excited for our guest today. This is somebody that I recently discovered on YouTube, and he has one of the most interesting channels. One of my favorite things about him is his sense of humor. So we are here with Anthony Carrai Jr. What's up, brother? How are
There
you?
we go. You got it. Good job, John.
Yeah. I
Most
mean,
people can't do it.
I saw at the beginning of your videos, I got a problem here, and then it just says like Karai, right? So
Yeah.
I was like, let me not mess this up. But how are you doing, man?
I am doing great. I am in my hot, sweaty garage, so I'm sweating. But other than that, I'm doing good.
Bro, I'm in the living room in my house in Puerto Rico. We just got this house, and we have not yet fully air conditioned the place. So we got air
That's
conditioning
gotta
there,
be worse.
air conditioning there. But I got this fan on me right here. I had to put this thing on top of the mic so it doesn't sound like the whole entire time.
Yeah.
But I feel you, right? I'll be mid recording and be like this.
Yeah.
It's
It's like we're in a
ridiculous.
sauna. That's a good idea for a podcast. Just be in a sauna.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
we're doing.
Psalms in the sauna. That's
That's good. Someone
yeah.
should trademark that.
We'll take it and run. By someone like one of us should trademark that. But anyway, man. So let's just jump right into your testimony. I
Yeah.
watched a video of you sharing your testimony. You grew up in the church, and you kind of decided to make this walk early in life. I'm the opposite. I'm 38 now, man. I'm 38 now, but I didn't start my walk with Christ until 28. And when I first started it wasn't really a walk. It was like a stumble with Christ.
Yeah.
So I'm always interested to hear from people who have grown up in the church.
Mm. Yeah. That's crazy because I feel like, it's crazy you're asking me to share my testimony because for the longest time, I felt like I never had a testimony because of that reason, right? Like, I wasn't this crazy guy going, like, I loved youth group. I loved church. I got saved at VBS. I mean, it doesn't get any more American Christian than that.
that is
Like,
that is the most American Christian story ever. My wife,
I, s-
my wife
yeah, I
did
said
did
the
the
sinner's
VBS
prayer. I
last
got
time.
baptized early. Like, yeah. And so, but all that was legitimate. Like, I really, like,
Yeah.
I realized like I was wrong. I was a sinner, and that Jesus loved me, and He paid my penalty on the cross and rose again. Like I got it. Now, obviously, how that played itself out is a lot different. So yeah, I mean, I'll just dive right in. I'll share. We could go talk about whatever, but my story is kind of like that. I grew up in the church. I grew up with parents who kind of were born. My dad was born in Brooklyn, New York. My mom lived on Long Island, New York, and they met in the wedding band business. They were doing wedding bands back in New York City in the '90s, and they fell in love with Jesus. Well, they weren't. They were Catholic, kind of just cultural Catholics. But then they met Jesus later on in life, and they kind of got married together, and then they had me. So I kind of grew up in a following parents who followed Jesus. I remember my dad, one of the first things he taught me was like the Trinity and tried to explain that to me when I was super young. And so I grew up in a household where it was not perfect, but looking back was very blessed. Like I do not deserve the amazing parents that I have. And so growing up in church, growing up at all these things, you just kind of have this sense that God's going to do amazing things in your life. And ever since honestly middle school and high school, I just felt like God wanted me to be in ministry. And I remember high school dreaming about my friends getting saved. I was so growing up in New York. New York is not the Bible Belt. Long Island, New York, there's not a lot of Christians, and if they are Christians, they're weirdos. And so, hopefully, none of my people are listening from New York. You're fine if you're listening to
I
this.
used to be a New York Christian. Now I'm a Puerto Rican Christian.
Yeah. And so it's just the ones that are seriously following Jesus, they're far and few between. And so I remember graduating in my high school, 3 out of 500 people. I can say like, okay, these guys were serious. We were called the God Squad back in high school, and so with that, I just had a sense that, man, like, I want people to know this Jesus, because at the time it was basic. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was just like, man, I'm experiencing life. I'm experiencing like good things. And like, I don't need to get drunk to have fun. I don't need a party. I don't need to do all these things to get high. Kind of on a Jesus high for a lot of it. And so, but with that, I wanted other people to experience Jesus. And so I felt like God was calling me into ministry, but a lot of people over me didn't think so. Um, a lot of people, including my parents, actually, because they were just like, yeah, you know what? Like, just kind of go to college. My parents are super wise with their money. So they're just like, hey, go to community college. Don't spend a boatload of money on a Bible degree that you're going to not use anyway. Like, just go to uh, community college, figure out your life. And so, with that, though, I was so distraught because I was like, no, I want to be in ministry. I want to make an impact for Jesus. Um, so with that, led me to go to community college. With that, I was like, okay, I got to figure out my life. And one of the things I kind of pursued at that time was just kind of making music. And so I grew up in a musical household. Like I said, my parents met in wedding bands. And so my dad was a music teacher. My mom could sing. I could play a lot of different instruments. And I used to make music, like beats, um, with garage bands, and just all the time as just like fun side projects. I would make remixes of Andy Mineo and Lecrae, like EDM dubstep. I thought I was like Skrillex, and I thought I was like the coolest thing ever. And so
Bro, I'm sorry.
I never
I gotta pause you right there. Dubstep was life for a brief moment. Like it was life for a brief moment.
Yeah, dude, I was just so like blown away on how these dudes made music, and so I wanted to do that in like the Christian sense. And so it was so bad. Like, you could still find it on SoundCloud. They're just so bad. But with that though, I was doing all those reps, and at that time I was at like a young adult kind of church service, and I met this friend, one of my friends, and he's still a good friend. Um, and we kind of hit it off. And I was the producer, he was kind of like the rapper singer type guy. And so we kind of were like the Macklemore, Ryan Lewis of the day for us. And we just clicked, and everyone was like, man, you guys are really good together and you guys sound good. And so we kind of made our own little projects together, distant. He went to like Bible school. I was still on Long Island. And we made our first EP in 2017. And that kind of just, people started sharing that. And that kind of EP started opening up some more doors. And I'm meeting people that I'm like, oh my gosh, I used to love you. Now that kept leading to all these different things. And for the first time in my life, I was getting validated for something. Like, people loved what I did, and I never got that in ministry. So I was like, all right, I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. But um I felt like something was out of place. I felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, but I don't even think that was the right vocabulary at the time. But all of a sudden, we were playing in front of thousands of people at these conferences in the Christian sphere, opening up for guys like Lecrae and Andy Mineo, who, when I was a little kid, was making music remixes of them. And so all these things were happening. And then I felt like in 2019, um, a moment happened at my church that I was like still part time at, serving, leading teams, still like pastoral creative worship intern guy. um, One night when I was preaching at that young adult service, I felt like God was like, "Hey, I need you to leave and go into ministry." And I was like, "Come on!" Like, this is finally, I have a route. Finally, this whole path makes so much sense. I'm getting validated. This is like could be my career. And then it's like, no, I want you to do this. And so that led to months of depression and anxiety, trying to figure that out. And I'm just a young 20-year-old kid trying to figure all this crap out. And lots happening. And so yeah, in that 2019, I finished out the year of just touring, and me and my friend, we kind of split, and I was like ready to pursue ministry. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make a difference. And I loved church. Like, growing up in the church, I loved church. I loved the model of church that I was a part of. I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to build the biggest programs. I wanted to build the biggest worship teams, and I wanted to build the most emotional moments. And I used to dream all the way back in high school to make these moments happen. And so I was like, finally, I get to do this. Um, 2020 comes, you know what happens, COVID. And so just to kind of speed things up a little bit, I'm looking for just full-time ministry. I'm in this, but churches don't pay a lot of money, especially on Long Island where it's super expensive to live. I want to get married. I have a beautiful girlfriend. I can't afford to live on Long Island, so I'm looking everywhere. Finally find this church that I'm a part of now. Literally the most random thing. I just sent my resume because I was like, okay, I like the website. It looks good. Um, Crazy how I even get an interview. I get an interview. I'm connecting with the lead pastor, or going soon to be lead pastor. And when I was here interviewing, I felt like God was like, this is your next step. It didn't make sense. But I was like, all right, God, I'm going to trust you. So I trusted him, thinking, I was like, all right, God, doesn't really make sense. But it makes sense financially and some things. And it seems like you're working this thing out. And then I get here, and so I moved 500 miles away from my friends, family, loved ones, to start marriage, life, adulting, all apart from everyone we love and know, and culture that we loved and known, and to do this thing called ministry. And yeah, and so then that for now, over the last 2 years, I was like, okay, God, I'm gonna do this. This is like, we kind of see career moves or things in like certain stages where we progress and get like better at it, or we get more successful, more clout. And so I thought that was the next step. Like, all right, God, you did this in music. You're calling me into ministry. My ministry is going to explode now. I'm going to be like, who's Mike Todd? This is Anthony's Todd. Like this, like I wouldn't say that, but that's how I felt. That's how I
Yeah.
thought. And
Yeah.
so and by get here, and everything is just not what I thought it was. Internally, I'm like, what am I doing? I fell in love with the system, and this weird stuff we can all talk about. But I just realized, just a weakness in the discipleship of the American church. And I fell in love with a system that I don't love anymore. and um, and so for the last 2 years, though, I went into a desert season and just trying to figure all that out. And all my identity has been stripped away because my identity was in work. My identity wasn't in Jesus and following Jesus. In early 20s, late teenagers, my identity was in girls, just like any horny single Christian dude, right? And so, but once I got that, I was like, okay, my identity was placed in work. And over the last 2 years, I've really seen how much my identity was wrapped up in ministry, or any accumulation of things that I could do, and numbers and all this stuff. And so, yeah, that's the kind of the journey I've been on. And that's kind of at least a part of my story. We could talk about a bunch of different things. And what I'm doing right now is the part of that whole, part of the last 2 years was, well, part of even before then, there's like this symbol that I still have to like kind of fix, and so that you could see. But there's an XX symbol. It's kind of been my logo and brand ever since music. It was our kind of like mission to just show people the abundant life that Jesus has. And I wanted to do that through music, but then I wanted to do that through ministry. And now I kind of it's still my ministry, obviously, but wanting to do that through content and media, and to just show people actually the abundant life Jesus has to offer. And it might be a lot different than the big mega church model that maybe, or even just the Christian culture that a lot of us have bought into, that there's something deep and worth diving into, that the American Christianity doesn't really talk about a lot. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of my story, and I just want to show people the deep end of the pool and show people where abundant life is. So that's me in, I don't know, 10 minutes. So
Nice, nice. So, um, it's interesting that I'm seeing a lot of parallels to my own life, kind of, except I didn't, move so far away for ministry, but, I got married and my wife wants to live in Puerto Rico. So we move away from everything. She's from Boston, I'm from New York, and we moved all the way out here. And, it was different.
For missions, or for like what? Why Puerto Rico?
There's a whole bunch of different reasons. One, I hate winter. That's
Okay.
that's it. But no, my wife's family's out here, so
Okay.
she wanted to be close to her family, and
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to be far from winter, so it worked out, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, but but it was difficult for a little bit because we were out here during COVID, and the whole island was pretty much shut down. And I'm somebody who likes to be involved in church, right? Like I really do. And out here, one, everybody speaks, all the churches are Spanish churches, so I'm like, no
Yeah, yeah,
hablo español, right? And
yeah.
and we were really thinking of like, hey, maybe we can't do it out here. And a big reason
Mm,
for that was not being able to be involved in ministry and not being able to,
mm.
we were helping online with our church back home, but it's not the same. And then we finally found a church, and it was like when we found a church, it's like so I'm interested in learning about when you moved all the way from New York. You left the bacon, egg, and cheeses. You know,
Yeah, dude.
you left that, and it's a difficult thing to do. I've done it,
Yeah,
and
no, you only understand if you've tried it. Like
yeah,
you don't.
you don't get it. I was telling side note. We'll probably do a bunch of New York side notes. I was telling the kids in my youth group, right? We were talking about New York or whatever, and I was like, yeah, Gino's Pizza in Yonkers is the best pizza that I've ever had. And they're like, what's Yonkers? Like
Yeah.
they've one of the kids, his parents don't like to fly, his parents don't like to take cruise ships, so he's just like stuck in Puerto Rico. And I'm like, man, I want to see if I could freeze this pizza and have it sent out here, because these kids
Yeah.
they have no idea. Guys, anybody who's listening to this, you have to go to New York, and when you go to New York, ask a New Yorker where to get a bacon, egg, and cheese, and
Yeah.
and a slice of pizza. Now, don't ask somebody who moved to New York where to get that
Yes.
stuff. Ask somebody who is from New York where to get that stuff. You know.
Yes.
So anyway,
You can
back.
get bad pizza in New York. You can get bad pizza in Italy. It can happen.
Yeah.
So
Yep. So let's bring it back. All right, bring it back. Oh, I'm sorry.
I can talk about that all day.
Yeah. Another side note: Chinese food in New York.
Yeah, dude.
It's
That's
untouchable. There's good
really
Chinese
is.
food in Puerto Rico out here, though. Like there actually is.
Okay.
I was very
Okay.
surprised, very, because
That is surprising.
if you've ever had like Florida Chinese food, it's like,
No, North
yeah,
Carolina Chinese. North Carolina anything. There's one good pizzeria I found that's like, okay, this is good.
how's the
But yeah,
bagels?
dude. Ah, horrible.
Yeah,
My in-laws are staying with us right now. We have probably close to 20 bagels in my fridge. And my fridge ain't that
nice.
big. We got 20 just all sealed up, dude. We hand them out. We make a business. We make a profit just selling
Yeah,
it to North Carolinians because they got no idea.
my
But when they
sister,
try it, it's just they get it. So
my sister was living in Pittsburgh for a while, and anytime my parents went to go visit her, they froze a whole bunch of bagels. There's a
yeah,
bagel shop right by our old house. Well, my old house. They still live in it. And these are things that you got to appreciate. But anyway, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Bring it back. Let's bring it back. So moving down to North Carolina, and you were expecting this, and then you got there, and it was this.
Hmm.
What was this, right? If you feel like diving into, what you saw was missing, and we're not trying to, talk bad about a church or anything like that. I don't know
No, no, no.
anything about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about that if you can, and then how did that make you feel moving you move from everything to be like, dang.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I say like the two analogies help so much because they're so deep. One is like we got thrown into the deep end just in life in general. Like I just don't recommend I just don't in general, and this might apply to maybe 1% of your audience, but I would not recommend moving to a new for a church position unless you know the culture and the church and the people there. I just wouldn't do it unless you really know the culture and the people, really people. Because I went like looking back, and I wouldn't say it back then, but looked at church like an organization or a CEO or this business type thing. And I was just like, yeah, I'll do what I love to do. And the problem is though your ministry is about people. and if you, and I think for me growing up in New York, Long Island, New York, not the city, but close to the city, very diverse. They think a lot differently than rural North Carolina. And so I figured I would like the Bible Belt. I figured I would like a lot of these things that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like this is kind of it. Like I had this assumption that the South was killing it. And what I mean by when I said before weak discipleship is just when you just see church as just one a place you go to and not a people that you live in community with, or just a thing that you, and then the thing you're building is just the building itself and how you can stack as many people in this building. And when it's all about programs and when it's all about numbers and attendance and giving and not disciples making disciples and communities on mission and not neighbor, like, because now I just see it's not an either or, it's a both end. Like if I love the gathering, but like if you're not living, if you don't have a community that you're living in throughout the week with, and I had that in New York. I wouldn't have maybe called that church. I had community in New York. I had brothers and sisters that loved me and knew me. But moving down, it was that community was missing. And part of it was moving in general. Like I totally get it. But that community aspect and was the biggest, I think, thing that I was missing. So, and now I would say 2023 and beyond, which is only 5 months into 2023, been super, super intentional. And also, I just, God has placed people in my life right now that are thinking the same way I'm thinking, and we're living in community together, which has been so fruitful and amazing. So, I mean, that in a nutshell is how why it's so hard getting thrown in the deep end here, figure out marriage without community, figure out being a leader in ministry, and then also just like crap, I don't know if I like this whole thing we're doing to begin with. And because I just saw yeah, it wasn't actually, people weren't, I was creating moments instead of movement in people's lives. So yeah, that's, I mean, that's it in a nutshell for me.
You could quote that right there. Creating moments instead of creating movements in people's lives. That's bars right there. So what's interesting is, people think of the Bible Belt, and they forget that there's like other things on people's belts, and
Yeah.
It's very political too. Politics is super mixed with Christianity. What I've noticed, I'm not this. We're painting with a broad brush right now. We know that there's that there's a lot of great, incredible churches in the Bible Belt, Bible believing, community building churches down there. We're painting with a broad brush, but I think people listening can understand that. And
I don't know. You got to say that.
I had to preface, right? Even though preface comes first.
You said it afterwards.
So the preface last. It's like a Star Wars movie, it's just
exactly.
all over the place. So what's interesting is, you're moving, and it's like you plug into something that you think is going to be an actual community, and then it's just a building. And the fact that you moved down there essentially for a position to work in the church, what I've noticed is that the more involved that I get in church, the more I love being at church, right? The more I get to meet the leaders and hang out and, work with the kids and all that stuff, the more I fall in love with the church community and make friends with the kids and make friends with their parents. And, it's an actual community. So I could understand how frustrating it would be to like have this picture in your head, and you're somebody, I gather, is a big dreamer, big thinker. You want to do big things for God. It's obvious in your personality, right? And then to get down there and just be like, dang. Mm-hmm. It's like seeing a postcard for something, where it's like beautiful beaches and everything, and it's a picture from how the resort looked 20 years ago, and you get there and it hasn't been maintained at all.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear. It's not like the people's fault. It's just the lies. I don't think lies is a good way to say it either. I'm trying to work out my vocabulary for this season, really,
You mean
because it's
de
just
New Yorkify your
yeah,
vocabulary?
yeah. It's I just had a picture of what things were going to look like, and it's I say delusional a lot, but that doesn't that doesn't land sometimes. Um, it's just I wanted things, and and no disrespect to anybody at Elevation, but like I wanted to be build my own Elevation church. I wanted to build my own VU, but like with like really good teaching. I love Passion City Church. I love Ben Stewart. I think he's a phenomenal Bible teacher. But I wanted to do that, and I want because I can create a service. I can create an experience. Like I can have the band play the right chords at the right moment, and I can create the most emotional message you won't ever. I just that whole Taylor of ministry where it's Sunday centric. I just was like, that's not what Jesus did at all.
Yeah.
He lived in the community, and it was a lot more of a lifestyle than just let's get people in the building. So, but that is just the culture of the church I was a part of, and we're actually trying to change that culture. So, and because of the leadership, and so it's not it, and so kind of is like I was on this journey, and now our church is on this journey. So, um, yeah, so it's really no bashing anybody, and it's because if it's all you know, it's all you know too.
Yeah.
And it's, but yeah.
So it's I'm glad that we're like talking about this while you're in your transition, essentially, while you're in the mud and you're in the grind season of trying to move things in the direction that you feel God is pulling you to go. And this is whenever I find myself in seasons like that, when I'm out of them, I look back and I'm like, oh, that's why I went through that.
Yeah.
Because you learn so much through these, as you call them, like this desert season.
Yeah.
You learn so much from it, and without that, we're not ready for the dreams that we have. We're not ready for. I talk to my wife about this all the time. I'm like, yeah, I just want to be able to do more for God. I want to be able to do this. I want to do that. Not like God needs me to do things for Him,
Yeah.
But just it's what I love to do, and
Yeah.
there's a few seasons that we've went through, and we're in one right now, and it's like every different dream or aspiration that I have when it comes to God and ministry. It's like there's always this thing me and her have to go through before we reach the other side. Like we went through a lot of stuff coming out with this book, like a lot of stuff. And now that it's here, I look back, I'm like, wow, like we dropped a lot of money on it too. And I wanted to be cheap. I really did. I really wanted to be cheap. And every time that like I asked my formatter, I'm like, well, how much would that cost? And she's anything she sent with more than 10, I was like, ugh. But
Yeah.
we bit the bullet and did it anyway, and now I'm just so satisfied with the book. But it's you can't be cheap with the things that you feel God is calling you to do. And if you're trying to do things like God don't do no cheap stuff, He just
That's a bar right there.
yeah, like he don't do
no cheap stuff.
yeah. But so I'm saying that to say this, like we can't be cheap people, and I don't mean that in a financial sense. We can't be cheap theologically. We can't be cheap in our relationship with God. We can't be cheap in the way that we move when it comes to things that He's pulling us to do. He can't have cheap people leading, because cheap people are greedy, right? And I don't, as I said, I don't mean this financially, but just morally and your character wise, like having a cheap character. How does a big dreamer like you or me think that God's going to use us if we have cheap character? So we have to go through these seasons that we go through.
Yeah. No, I feel like I'm a totally different person than I was 3 years ago in 2020 when I was like moving, stepping in, like, and I think that's the beauty of it, of the desert season. Like He's going to mold you. If He did it with Jesus, He gonna do it with you. If you listen to the shepherd's voice. But in Psalm 23, it's like he'll also lead you to quiet waters, and I've experienced that, like having a very anxious personality and fear-based personality, living out of fear. A lot of the things I've done growing up was just out of fear and anxiety. But in this desert season, I've learned to rest. I've learned to actually listen to the shepherd. And that's what Psalm 23 says. He'll make you lie down. And he's forced me to lie down. And so, and I mean, that's just one aspect of the so many other aspects of what I've learned through the season. And so I'm like thankful for it. It's the hard I you should see how many times in my journal, God get me out of this freaking season. And that's like the PG version. I'm raw, I'm New York in my journal, okay? And that those seasons just exposed and got out all the stuff. And I'm again, it's still a process and a journey. I'm still going to get exposed, and still God's still working things in me. But it was definitely like in like acceleration class getting thrown into this season of life, because yeah, like if it wasn't for my silence and solitude with God, I probably might not even be able to be here right now, because I'd be filing divorce papers because my wife wouldn't want to be with me anymore because I cheated on her. Like that's how bad and that's how crazy those low, dark, depressing moments got. But because of me believing that God gave life and life abundantly, even in the worst seasons, now I could see why blessed are the poor in spirit. And so, yeah, and it sucks, but following Jesus is worth it when you realize that he cares more about your character than calling, um, and just seeing the transformation that's happened. And I believe that will continue to happen. It's pretty cool to see. So, and it's all God's glory, his credit. But I
Amen.
don't want to sound like the hero, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate your honesty and being open to discuss seasons like this. I think that it's needed, especially in the Christian content creation community. I think that's 4 C's right there, right? It's
yeah,
needed in
yeah,
the 4 C's. It sounds like a
yeah,
resort, right? But it ain't no resort.
yeah, I don't know what resort you're at, but I need to switch resorts if you call this thing a resort. So.
But so it's just, I think that people need to be more open in discussing the struggles that they go through, and discussing the ups and downs. That was one of the appeals actually to me with Christianity, because I was in the business world when when I was introduced to the gospel, and to me, being vulnerable, I was in the streets, then I went from the streets to business. Both situations, you can't show anything's wrong in your life. You just can't, right? You got to be tough. Even if you talk about things that are going on in your life, you can't be vulnerable, right? So one of the appeals of Christianity to me was like, wow, these people they're talking about their actual problems with no problem talking about it. It blew my mind. It really blew my mind. So let's switch gears. Let's get off this depressing wave right here. I want to talk about the sense of humor of your channel, and you looking for. I appreciate sarcasm. That's like one of my favorite things. And you're.
That's going back to the differences of North Carolina and New York, bro. Like, oh my goodness, no one gets my humor, or it's just too wacky and too weird, and like, yeah, it's definitely a New York Italian American thing. So
yeah, my wife did not understand my sarcasm for the longest time, and it was really bad. So me and my wife were friends before we started dating, friends for a good 3 years, right? Well, at least I thought we were friends, but she, on the low, hated me, right? So one of the reasons she did not like me was my sarcasm. Like right off the bat, sometimes I'm sarcastic with people when I just meet them, and I have learned to discipline that a little bit. But she did not like me at all. But now I guess, being with me and 24/7, she hits me with sarcasm, and I'm like, what have I created here? Like, this is
Dude, that's
savage
a whole marriage
sarcasm.
tangent, bro. Yeah, that's a whole marriage tangent. You really become like the people you surround yourself with. Yeah, dude, I'm lucky because my father-in-law is very wacky, and
Nice.
he's wackier than some of the people I met. So I was lucky for her because I am nowhere near his level of wackiness. So it was a good fit. So
That's awesome. So let's talk about incorporating humor into Christian content, because this is a line that's difficult to walk, right? Especially your kind of humor, that sarcastic, like if people don't know you're joking, they'd be like, "Yo, is he serious right now?" And
yeah,
it's like you're not serious at all. So talk about
yeah.
incorporating that, and what made you say, I'm just gonna do this, and I don't care if it upsets anybody.
Yeah, I think I haven't gotten as much pushback. Um, I thought, yeah, I'm just surprised that it's resonated with so many people. Because yeah, it's just over the last like few years now, it's just like no one. But I just know like that it's to me, it's just one. It was just a world I grew like New Yorkers, man. It's just we're constantly like it's just the air you breathe, and I and then leaving that air, it's like it's very and especially in the Christian sphere, it's almost sinful what I do to a lot of people, and it's like you can't be saying that, and your words, power is in the tongue, and life and death's in the tongue, and you can't be joking around like that, um, and so honestly, like I just do it and I don't really care. And because it's just who I am. And there are times, yeah, when I probably say something. Oh, I do it all the time with my wife. But there's probably times, you should see the unedited videos I got. I should have like that should be my Patreon thing. It's
You
just
should
like
you should see mine yelling at the neighbor's dogs, bro. It's like the second I hit record, uh, I don't know what it is out here in Puerto Rico. It's like it's obviously a different culture, but like nobody tells their dog to shut up. Like nobody is like cállate. Like nobody does that,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
it's just
dude.
they just bark and bark and bark and bark and bark, and man, if I had just left unedited, I'd get a whole bunch of unsubscribers.
Yeah. No, I'll be going your highest tier Patreon if I knew that if you released that. Um yeah, no, it's just it's not in the space and it's me and I'm gonna keep doing it. There's gonna be videos where I'm just 100% joking. Because I like sometimes also too, I just if I don't know have anything really meaningful to say, I'll just joke around with it because that's what I did growing up with my friends. We would look at the news articles and just make fun of people, and so um, probably more bad than good. But yeah, it's just the culture I grew up in. We're constantly the people who I think are so funny. We're just so sarcastic, and um, it's just who I am. And I've wrestled with it a lot. Like I've had trouble with that because it's Christian YouTube is not the nicest sometimes, and it's very yeah, like I don't know how else to say it. Like
Yeah.
it's just not sarcasm doesn't land, and so I've wrestled with that a lot. Because I feel like I have to put on this persona sometimes, but um, got like just is seeing that it's such a missing space, a missing thing in the space. Like I just want to have fun because I think humor comedy, laughing, it's medicine, and it really does help get me out of this dark. Like one of the things I love to do on my Sabbaths is I'll just watch clean comedy, and
Oh,
it's
nice.
just something that I love to do. I need to go out and like actually see comics more. I wish I could do that more, but I just love comedy, and so I'm a wannabe comedian, but yeah, it's just me. So
Yeah.
how do you process? I'm curious on your like how do you process sarcasm in the Christian world?
So I just do it anyway, but
Yeah, yeah,
I'm cautious about what I do. Like I can go Deadpool in under 30 seconds flat, like from zero to Deadpool. So I've learned to not go full on Wolverine origins, and just calm it down a little bit. But like I did a video in which I read all of my comments, all of my bad comments. You know, what people were talking bad about me.
Yeah.
I did it in Batman's voice and Bane's voice, and so some people hated it. Like they were like, how could you make fun of people like this? I'm like, are you listening to what these people are saying to me? Like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
from my own mental like
Yeah.
you know, for my mental capacity, like my mental health. I need to address this
Yeah.
stuff without you know, going real Deadpool on people. So
Yeah, yeah.
so let's talk about Christian YouTube, right? You know, you have your plaque of 100,000 subscribers. This is like the idol. This is the golden calf of
Yeah.
you know, Christian YouTube,
It
right?
definitely is, man. There's
Right
nothing
here.
in it.
But you know, it is a good accomplishment, regardless. You know, and we're gonna get into the ins and outs of you know, because we know a lot of Christian YouTubers pay attention to my page, your page. You know, aspiring Christian content creators. So we want to be real with you guys of what this actually looks like. You know, some people see you got 100,000 subscribers, they're like, oh, this dude must be a millionaire or something like that. You know, like they
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have
yeah.
a concept of how this works. So let's talk about how you got to 100,000 subscribers and how you will do it differently to get to your next 100,000.
Yeah, well, I mean, so this is more towards the YouTube. I'm trying to make this somewhat pastoral and connected,
Just
but
turn it into a mega church
yeah,
sermon, and
just a message to the
yeah,
average person.
we'll let it
I mean,
rock.
long story short, I saw different. Um, this is like coming back for even how I made music. I would listen to people that I like and try to make my own and try to. That's the best way to copy, steal. That's just what my dad taught me, is just listen and then make it your own. That's why I loved remixing, because I would take all these things and make it my own. And so I was learning from guys like Ruslan, different people that I was like, okay, I want to do that. And so there was these shorts that were popping off on different other Christian content creators. And so I was like, okay, let me just copy that strategy for shorts. Like, what's the, like, there were Christian shorts, like there were trends on TikTok, like guess they're transferring over, and I saw they got millions of views. So I was like, okay, just let's do it. Same sound, same everything. Um, and so I did it, and I started like, it was crazy, bro. For like a month, well, a week, I went from one, and so and it's funny too. I don't know if you were around or if you knew my channel, but I was trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by
Yeah, I
the end
remember
of
that.
20.
I
Yeah,
remember
I
that.
was trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2023, and so then all of a sudden, within 1 week of me doing that, I hit 10,000 subscribers. I'm like, okay, something's wrong. Like, this is something's wrong. And then, dude, it like 3 weeks later, I hit 100,000 subscribers, and I'm like, okay, because I just went off. I just did like 2 or 3 a day, and it was like the crack in the YouTube algorithm. And I really, like, I'm so mad at it, because it was a crack cocaine for the algorithm, and it just spread all across the world, and people were just hitting the subscribe button, but they never saw my content. And so for me, I really don't care about this at all. I I care about the impact. I care about the community I'm building. Like, and I don't have that community yet. This I want to take it away, and just until I really feel like I have that community that's worth 100,000 subscribers, then I'll probably put it back up. But this is just to show people in videos like, yeah, this 150,000, because I get like 100, 200, 300, maybe a video that goes well will hit 1,000 views a video. And so just going back, it was not ill intent. I was not out here trying to chase clout. I'm out here trying to make an impact. Like, I've got millions of streams on my songs on Spotify. I don't give a freaking rat's butt about that stuff. Like, I just care about impact. And Um, yeah, those shorts that I did. So going back, be wise on who you're copying in a sense, or who you're learning from, and who you're taking and making it your own. That's another thing too. Like I've also seen the space where people are just copying a lot of other people, and it's like I'm always trying to think of how can I make this my own? How can I do something different? How can I add me to the space and just be me? And so that comes in with the comedy, or just comedy, just me, just being a goofball, whatever. So yeah, that's just some of that Christian content creator conversations that.
Take notes, guys. Take notes. Um, yeah, the YouTube algorithm is crazy. I'm at a point now where I don't even try to figure it out. Like I'm just I'm
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
I'm done with it. It's like you're so interested in it, and you're looking at it like all right, I'm gonna figure you out, and it's like a
Yeah.
it's like a bad relationship, like um it it's like a woman pretending to be one way, and then you get to know them and find out they're completely different, and then you get to know that different person and then find out that they're actually completely different, and then you find out they have schizophrenia. It's like a whole rabbit hole
Yeah.
of like I can't figure you out. I don't understand you. So now I'm just like my wife again. It's so good to have a good wife. She's like, John, it's not about you getting hundreds of thousands of views. If you get that, that's great. She's like, but every view is a person.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
about the people who are watching your content. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
you right, and I'm schmart for marrying you.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's good that you. That's another thing that you just learned from it.
Yeah. No, I mean, the YouTube metrics, I am to talk YouTube because I don't really talk a lot of YouTube with a lot of people. The thing that I am looking at is just views to get to be able to monetize again soon, to appeal. Because I got demonetized in the process too. So yeah,
What did they demonetize you for?
just because a lot of the trends had songs in it that were not authorized.
It's annoying.
And so I got the thing is I got the 10 million views to be monetized, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of just was like, I stopped doing it. I'm gonna let be. Just let me get the monetization, and then I'll like leave this. But the problem is because I got monetized from these stupid things, I got monetized. So for me, I mean, because I recently had a son, and so
Congratulations.
kids are. Yeah, thank
Kid
you.
is
Kids are expensive.
absolutely adorable.
Thank you. Gets it from his mother. 100% not me. And so, yeah, kids are expensive. So I would enjoy the monetization because that's going straight into the bills we got to pay for them. So, whenever I could do that, that'd be great. But that's literally the only metric I'm really concerned about is that views and yeah, right now. So.
Yeah, I remember when I was when I first started doing YouTube, I had this one video pop off. Right, there was a Derek Prince sermon that he did, and I'm not like the hugest Derek Prince fans. I have my issues with him, but he did this one thing about not giving up. Right, it was such a good sermon, and one thing that I really liked about Derek Prince was when he preached a sermon, you felt it. His love came through the sermon, right? And so I just clipped up this video for myself, for me to listen to it, and I sent it to some of my sales team as well, just to like inspire them. Don't give up. Blah blah blah. There's biblical reasons not giving up. And then all of a sudden I'm like getting emails about, so this person just commented on this person. So I sign into my YouTube, and I'm like, oh shoot, this video is blowing up. It was like getting 11,000 views a day, and it was long form content. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. Long story short, I'm like, now I'm building my other content, right? And I'm like, all right, cool. 1,000 hours away from getting monetized, getting really, really close. I get a copyright strike from Derek Prince Ministries. I was like, you know what? I knew I didn't like you guys. I tried to reach out. I was like, hey, I'm a small YouTuber. This video, I'm not. You can just demonetize the video and take the ads from it, Bob. They were like, nope. It's like, dang, man. So
Dang.
I went from being like 1,000 hours away from monetization, boom, dropped all the way back to I had like 400 watch hours. I was like, ugh. But
Yeah.
going back to what we spoke about earlier, right? About going through the season of where you have to learn something. If that video would have just been carrying me, I would not have doubled down on my own personal content creation
Mm.
and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
thugging it out. And like me and my wife are just like looking at the arrow on the screen, like, all right, oh, we only need this much more. All right, we only need this much more.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
when I finally got monetized, I made like $10. I was like, yes, this is incredible. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is amazing. Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah.
I know the struggle. I know the struggle.
Yeah, I think that's like, I mean, when I had a child that like totally like, it's my only, the closest thing to like a Saul the Paul moment, where I was just radically like saw different, the world different, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to take care of this child, and like this child is it will, and not that I will like, a lot of the stuff I already believed, I believed even more. So, yeah. So anytime that I can, just for me freelancing for other people, or just um, anything that I could do to make more money, I'm all about it now. Not for the sake of getting money so I could drive, but to provide for my family.
Yeah.
Because
To not
things are
be
getting more expensive. I'm not making a lot of money. My wife's a part-time Starbucks barista, so like that's what I mean, people. So
yeah.
yeah,
To to not be a deadbeat dad. That's essentially it. To be
yes,
to be a good father, good husband, and provide. And I always tell
yeah,
people, um, they think that I have an issue with selling stuff because I called out, one of these guys on YouTube for mostly for saying he doesn't make money from stuff that I know he's making money from. But they thought that I was calling him out just for selling stuff. And I'm like, I think that more Christians should find ways to make money to do ministry full time. Like I think
yeah,
that they should. And I see no issues with making money off ad revenue, making money off selling merch, making money off of any of that, right? Because if your goal is to get to a place where you can do more in helping people grow in their faith, do more in reaching people with the gospel, it's like people will want you slaving away at a job, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You get no sleep, just so that way you can have a clean image of not selling anything. Like
yeah,
do
yeah,
you
yeah,
do you hear what you're saying, guys? You
yeah,
mean
yeah,
you don't want your favorite YouTuber to be able to do this full time? Like, it's bananas to
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that whole, like, a lot of things about money have been awakened in this time of like, yeah, no, this is, I gotta, like, I'm a simple dude. I have mainly black t-shirts in my, I'm all about simplicity. But I'm not at the level yet of simplicity. That's how much money I'm not making. So I'm trying to get to simplicity. I got holes in this shirt. I don't know if you could tell. I
Yeah,
got
I can
holes
see it. I can
in
see
my armpit. So
it.
yeah, I'm just trying to get another shirt. That's what I'm doing.
That's
Um,
very North Carolina of you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, anyway, man, we're approaching being on here for an hour. Tell us about some things that you have coming up, and then we'll close this thing out.
Yeah. Thank you once again, John, for just having me on. Thankful for a New Yorker out here making a difference in the Christian online space. But thank you for your channel and just your way to be making apologetics more in sync with today's culture and the lies that a lot of people are believing, also the church that's believing. I cannot wait to get your book and start reading it, because I'm actually been curious about all the law and attraction stuff. That's one of the many side study things I'm wanting to get into, so I'm looking forward to that. So thank you for your channel and your ministry. But yeah, I've got like a secret project that I'm working on that I'm really, really excited about. That's gonna be um, I don't know, kind of my mini, like a mini documentary thing.
Nice.
Very mini, just honestly a vlog, really. Okay, I'm just gonna say vlog, but a vlog series that I'm really excited about because it's gonna be talking about things that I've kind of been stirring up in my heart. So that is coming out. But yeah, I have also too, like, a newsletter that's starting. I might as well promote it now. If you go on my channel, in the description, you can find all the links to everything at Anthony Carrai Jr. Um, Newsletter. I'm coming out with like a free ebook soon.
Nice.
You actually one of the people that inspired me to just actually finish a thing that I've been installing for a while now. So
Wow. Nice.
yeah, so those are some things, and I just trying to come out with a video every single day, just looking at culture and just pointing people back to the life that Jesus has to offer. So YouTube is where I'm most active in, or Instagram at Anthony Carrai Jr. So
Awesome. Well, when you get that ebook out, we'll hop back on and we'll talk about it. All right.
yeah,
All
sweet.
right. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for being on here. Thank you for wearing a Mets hat. I know my brother and my stepmother would greatly appreciate that.
Let's go.
Thank you for your channel. Thank you for your personality, and thank you for just following God's calling in your life and being willing to go through your desert moments so you can come out and do more. But guys, make sure that you are subscribed to his channel. Find him on Instagram. He's tagged in this video, so just click the tag and you'll be taken to his YouTube channel, where you could find everything else Anthony Carrai Jr. related. Right? Said it again correctly, even after talking
you're
for a whole hour. But
you really don't have an excuse because you're from New York, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't.
But anyway, guys, for everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here. Everybody that tuned in, and if you were listening to this on, Spotify or Apple, the streaming stuff, I forget all of them that we're on. If you're listening to that, definitely subscribe to the Why Jesus Network on YouTube, or to my channel, or to both of them, and definitely go subscribe to Anthony's. God bless. I'll see you tomorrow. We have an interview every day this week at 8 o'clock. Oh, and tonight at 3 a.m. EST, I'm going to be doing a live, because that's when the book goes live. I'm doing a live because the book goes live. But Amazon got to be on Pacific time, so it's waking me up at 3 in the morning. But anyway, really excited. So if you're awake, hop on. God bless. I'll see you on the next one.
See ya.